When God calls you to something, he sees everything about it at the moment that he's speaking to you about it. So there is nothing that God did not see about you when he spoke to you. There is nothing that God does not know about you when he placed you where he put you to do what he called you to do. So when we doubt our capacity to do what God called us to do, it is not us we doubt, but it is God who made us and placed us that we doubt, but we don't want to say we doubt God. So we say, what if they? What if I can't do it? But it's not really me that I'm doubting because I didn't manufacture me. And if I really for one moment believed that God made me how he wanted me, gave me what he wanted, did inside of me what he wanted to do inside of me, put me where I needed to be, planted me by what I needed to be planted by. If I believed that for one moment, it would kill my what if before it got out of my mouth. Any view of God's sovereignty that does not make room for your struggle is a false claim. Any view of God's will that is not wide enough to accommodate your mistakes is too narrow. Any belief about God that you have that is not big enough to take into account all the flaws inside of yourself is too small. Certain times asking what if can be productive. But then it gets past the point where you're making plans. I mean, there's good things. I'm just break it down real quick. Like before I come out, I have a whole check. All right. What if my zipper is down? Okay, let me check that. What if, I got my undershirt, so I put my hands up. I don't want anything to be showing that's not supposed to be showing. You came here to see the Lord's glory, all right? Not to see nothing else other than the Lord. So I got to get this down. Okay, what if my mic isn't on? Okay, I got to turn it on. What if? But then it comes to a point where I stop solving problems and I start shrinking God because I get caught up in my what if. Well, what if I get up to preach this and they don't like it? What if I get up to preach it and it doesn't go good? What if I get up there to preach it and I forget what I'm supposed to say? It takes faith for me to preach how I preach because I don't look at notes. I mean, I guess I could. I don't think the Lord would strike me with anything if I looked at notes. I don't think it's bad to look at notes. But I want to be in the moment with you and I want to see what God has to say, and it takes faith because what if I forget? What if I get to a point and I can't even remember if I'm preaching on Moses or Abraham? What if I say something in this sermon and they clip it and they put it online and take it out of context to make me look like I said something I never said before? Oh, that would never happen. That doesn't happen. Now I got to get up here and think about not only what I'm going to say. It's not only, what if I don't hear from God and say it to you? What if I hear from God, I say it, somebody takes what I said, puts it where I didn't say it, says something around it I didn't say it. It's enough to make you want to stay back there and suck your thumb and sing Waymaker by yourself. But I gotta get through the what if so I can get to what is. And what is today, let me remind you, is somebody is here who is going to hell if they don't give their life to Jesus. Somebody is in here who is living in hell and they have given their life to Jesus. Somebody is in here today who doesn't really feel like going on next week and their life might be on the line. So the big question isn't, what if I got up here and preached and said something wrong? It's what if I didn't give you what God gave me and you didn't make it because I didn't show up? It's not really, well, what if I do it and fail? That's what God gave you grace for to begin with. That's not the real fear. See, the real fear isn't what if I fail, it's what if I'm not enough to recover. What if the moment Moses said he's in trouble, because there are a few things in life that you can't control. The weather is one. And just put your hand on the shoulder of the person next to you real quick. Would you do that? That's another one. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But you had faith to drive here. You had faith to drive here with all of the bad drivers that you passed on the way here. No, not you, the other drivers. That's what you tell your kids when they're learning to drive. It's not you I'm worried about. It's the other, you know good and well. It is them that you know. I have no business driving. But I want you to think with me because what if is a game that you can't just play a little bit. Once you start playing the what if game, and I mean you get in that, what if, let me think of one from your life this week, okay? What if, okay, I got one. You text somebody, they start texting back and you see bubbles. The bubbles go away. What happened? Are they mad at me? You go back and read the text. You start looking. Maybe I should have put a heart after the text. I'm not going to do it like that. Then you start sending a follow-up text to make sure you start layering it. LOL, ha ha. They hate me. I think they hate me. What if they hate me? What if they never text me back? What if nobody ever texts me back? What if I die alone right here in this apartment? It's been 3 minutes. It's been 5 minutes. And the more you love something, the more opportunity the enemy has to get in it and make you afraid about it. This is why every parent wave at me. This is why at some point we gotta give our kids to God. No, I know you got 7 steps to raising a world changer, and I want you to do all of it. Man, I promise you, I think all the time about what experiences I want to give my kids, how I want them to be a parent. How I want them to be, how I want them to talk about me. Not when I'm dead, but when they're a little bit older. When I'm dead, I don't care, I'm gone. But I think about even more than what I want them to say about me, what I want them to see in me, that they can emulate later in their life when they have their own struggles. The other day I was parenting one of them, and the thought came to my mind, what if you're being too easy on them? You need to prepare them. The world is hard. If you don't come down on them, a prison warden is going to one day. Is it really this serious? A prison warden? Yeah, because my mind, I promise you, it's that quick too. It's that quick. My kid is not doing their homework. They're in prison, all in the space of 3 seconds. It don't take long. And then, so I went in and corrected them. I left, and the same voice that said to me, what if you're too easy on them, said, what if you were just too hard on them? What if you just scarred them for life? Not going to be emotionally available to their own children one day. The other day, Elijah was going fishing, and I was like, God, I suck. I never taught him to fish. Now his friends are having to teach him to fish. What if, because his dad didn't teach him to fish, what if he finds comfort in the wrong friends? What if those same friends that introduced him to fishing introduced him to hard drugs? What happened just now that my kid went fishing? What if the same way that the hook was in that fish's mouth, what if there's a hook from the enemy in my child's mouth? Why? He's fishing, he's happy. Pray for me. It happens that fast. What if you said too much in your sermon today? What if you didn't say enough? What if you mess it up? What if you don't know? What if you go? What if you do? What if they know? What if? What if God is bigger than any of the things you just listed? What if Moses, the man who God called to deliver his people, is a murderer who's been a fugitive for 40 years. What if God picks that guy? You know how you can tell if you have what it takes to do what God called you to do? If he called you to do it, you have what it takes. I don't know, it's kind of iffy. It's not iffy, you're iffy. God's not iffy. Oh, let me tell you why God chose you. He had no other options. Yeah, God was scraping the bottom of the barrel. He said, whom shall I send and whom shall go for us? I guess Eric will do. You are shrinking God to the size of the scenario that you can understand. Because watch God. God says, he says, what if they won't listen to me? And God says, what is that in your hand? Now this is what got my attention in the text. Moses says, what if God doesn't answer him? Because they're not going to listen to him. Because they're rebellious. Because they're stubborn. Now here's what God will not do when you start worrying. He will not calm you down by saying, oh, nothing bad is ever going to happen. That's not going to happen. Just trust in me. Nothing bad is ever going to happen. You're going to go to the right place. You're going to meet the right people. You're never going to get it wrong. You're never going to make any bad decisions. There's always going to be angels clearing out a parking space so that you will never have to walk. Even when you go to the gym to exercise, God is good. Instead, give me my two big verses again, because this is the lesson. Moses says, what if they don't believe me or listen to me? And then the Lord said to him, what is that in your hand? So here's what the Lord will do to help you break this cycle. If you will let him, if you want to stay in what if, you will wander in the wilderness. If you want to say what if, hypothetical scenarios will have hypothetical baby scenarios. And you'll have hypothetical baby, grandbaby, grandchildren scenarios. But God moves Moses from what if to what is. Isn't that good? Isn't that good? God gave it to me just that simple this week. He said, I want to move you from what if to what is. None of your stress is in the present moment. What if now Moses is having a conversation with God and he's thinking about people. He's already playing out why this is not going to work. Some of you are in church already thinking about what comes after this today. And it's fine. I'm not here to rebuke you for that. I'd be doing the same thing. I already told you. I'd be wondering, is that his color? Does that really match his skin tone? I'd be thinking 1,000 things if I were you. But you are not going to receive what you could receive if you will not be fully where you are. Moses is in Midian. He is in Midian because he made a mistake. He made a mistake by killing an Egyptian for beating a Hebrew. It was an honest mistake. He had a passion in his heart. He had a calling in his life, but he had to flee when he was found out. He's been hiding for 40 years, and God shows up one day and tells him, you're going to do something great now. It's time. I want to use you now. It's you. And Moses said, what if they? And God said, what is that? I love it. It's two mentalities contrasted. Your mentality, what if? And God's mentality, what is? God will bring you back to what is when you find yourself lost in what if. Couple months ago, my nephews and nieces came over and they taught me a game. We were swimming in the pool and they took a watermelon and they put Vaseline all over the watermelon. And they said the object of the game is to get the watermelon with Vaseline on it from one end of the pool to the other, and we're going to do it in the deep end, and everybody in the pool can try to stop you on the other team, and then you can pass it to your teammate. You know, that's about what it feels like to try to get a word from God about your life and then navigate the deep waters of your real life experience. You ever felt like you're holding on to something that's but slippery by design? And look, the watermelon was already heavy when I'm trying to swim with it. I don't need it to be heavy and slippery. And I certainly don't need people clawing and scratching and climbing on my back trying to drown me. This is not a game anymore. This is a lawsuit. I think like that too. I know they're my relatives, but that don't mean they won't sue me. I need y'all to sign a waiver before we play. I mean, there's more to worry about now, especially with cancel culture, y'all. Especially. You know how much I think about when's going to be the day I'm going to say something in this pulpit and everybody's going to be like, all right, we're out. You shouldn't have said that. And yet at the same time, it is not you or them that I really need to fear. The fact of the matter is, now receive this for yourself. If God be for you, who can be against you? If God be for you. If it really came from him, if this is really God speaking to Moses, that question is irrelevant. What does it matter what they say when the great I am is the one speaking to you? What does it matter what they think about it? God said that is not the important issue, is what they say. I'm not even going to answer about what they say because it is not about what they say. It's not about the problem that you're up against. It's not about the age or the stage of life. It's not about any of that. It's about what is that in your hand? What is the thing that God has given you right now? And will you trust that when you get to the next challenge of your life, it will be enough because he is enough? It will. God said, I know you got some doubts, so let me do a little product demonstration. You have been seeing this stick as a staff to shepherd sheep, and that's what it has been up until now. But throw it down on the ground and watch it change into something else. The moment you let go of it, it's going to transform. The moment you release it, it's going to become something you've never seen before. The moment you take it out of your hand, I'm going to turn it into something. God is doing a product demonstration, you see, because Moses doesn't even know who he is yet. Moses doesn't even know what he can do yet. You hadn't even seen what God put inside of you yet. You haven't even met your gifted self yet. You haven't even met your free self yet. You haven't even met the leader inside of you yet, because you've been wandering in the wilderness of what if. What if they leave me? So now you won't love anybody. Because what if they leave me? So I'll withdraw my love from them before they can take their love from me. So I'm living in what if, and I'm lonely in what if, and I'm dying of thirst in what if, and I'd rather be in chains in what if. Because see, that's comfortable. As long as you're worrying, you're still the one controlling it. You think you can plan enough and do enough and fix enough. But the real things that hit your life, you won't even see coming. The moment that Moses focuses on what is in his hand, God starts dealing with what's not in his hands. Here's the word. Give it to God, and he will give it to you. Give it to God, that situation. Give it to God, that issue. Give it to God, and he will give it to you. The strength you need, the direction you need. Yeah. That next step that you're asking him about, give it to God, and he will give it to you. I'll tell you where you won't find your strength, in the wilderness of what if. But that staff, man, if Moses only knew that staff was something else. I want to preach this to you, but I want to prophesy it to you. So let me just say it. Your staff is something else. Yeah, your staff is something else. Common object, but put it down and God will show you something else. And pick it up and God will show you something else. I almost wish God would have done it like they do when we bought the rainbow vacuum cleaner, when we bought the knives that time, when we were buying it. They'd bring it in and show you everything it could do. This man came in my house to sell me some cookware. He did a whole demonstration. He was cooking stuff. And God only showed Moses one thing his staff could do. God didn't even tell him about, oh yeah, once you get the people out of Egypt, they're going to have to cross the Red Sea. But what is that in your hand? See, when you need it to be something else, it'll be something else. Because I am that I am. So when I need that staff to part water, it'll part water. Because I am that I am. Moses said, what if they? What if it? What if I can't? What if? God said, what is? Now, what it is right now is not all it's going to be. Stop measuring your future problems by your present strength. When you get to that stage, you'll have strength for it. When you get to that challenge, you'll have strength for it. God didn't make the staff part waters. Moses didn't need it to part waters yet. If it hadn't happened yet, it doesn't have to happen yet. You got to get out of the future and get into his presence and say, God, what is in my hand? This is the same stick that's going to make water come from a rock. This is the same stick that's going to hydrate a nation. This is the same stick that's going to be something else when you get to the next stage. From what if to what is. And if all of that fails you and what is isn't enough, remember who is. Y'all want to have church for a moment? Follow me all the way to the wilderness. Moses has led the people out of Egyptian slavery. They're coming upon a journey that's only supposed to take approximately 2 weeks, but they're going to get stuck for 40 years. And I'm going to show you why. And I'm going to show you why you've been stuck in your own head. And I'm going to show you why you've been stuck in your last mistake. And I'm going to show you why you can't give God the last 2 years so you can't walk into the next 2 years. I'm going to show you why you've been worrying about things that you have no control. I'm going to show you why the devil keeps making you put a down payment on problems you're not even going to face. Watch this. In the book of Numbers, Moses sent out 12 spies to see about the land that God had called them into. You know this story? 10 of them come back talking trash. Not about God, not about Moses, but about the people they have to defeat to take the land that God promised. So they start talking. I want you to notice something about this speech. Give me Numbers chapter 13. Or is it 14? They came back to Moses and Aaron and the whole Israelite community. You ready for this? This thing, you've heard this before, but there's something you never noticed. They reported to them in the whole assembly, showed them the fruit of the land. They gave Moses this account. We went into the land which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Here is this fruit. But the people who live there are powerful. Cities are fortified, very large, and not a word of a lie. Nothing they said wasn't true. We even saw descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites live in the Negev. The Hittites, Jebusites, Amorites live in the hill country. The Canaanites live near the sea along the Jordan. And Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, we should go up and take it, for we can certainly do it. But the men who had gone up with him said, we can't attack those people. They're stronger than we are. They turned a 2-week journey into a 40-year wilderness. You know why? Because nobody in all of those verses that I just read you said one thing about God. Not one time was his name mentioned. Not one time was his power considered. Not one time was his arm invoked. Not one mention of God. I'll read you the whole thing again. Put the scripture back up. Let's go back through it. Make sure I didn't miss it. They came back, showed them the fruit. Next verse. We went into the land which you sent us. It, we, you, it. Milk, honey, fruit. But the people who live there and the cities are fortified and very large. We saw descendants of Anak. Keep going. Keep going. Amalekites, Hittites, Jebusites, Amorites, Cellulites, Canaanites. And then even Caleb. Look, man, he had great faith. He got to inherit the land. Caleb's a bad dude, but even he didn't have the good sense to say, we should go up and take possession, for God is with us. He just said, we. And that wasn't enough to convince him to go. Where is God in your what if? Where does God factor in? Where is the great I am in your what if? You know, I understand all that. What if my kids meet the wrong friends? What if God loves your kids more than you do? How about that? What if I get up to say, and I can't say it? What if God shows you what to say? What if God gave you the weakness to show his strength? What if God knows stuff you don't know? What if God sees something you don't see? What if God has something that you need, but you don't need it yet? What if the staff is going to part the waters when you get there? What if the thing you're worrying about is already taken care of? Where is God in your what if? So God said, we got to interrupt this thing today before it stops you from going into what he promised you. We got to interrupt this cycle today. All this what if. At least Moses was having a conversation with God when he said what if. Most of us have that conversation with ourselves. And so now you're in the wilderness of what if. Or the wilderness of what was. And God says, what is that in your hand? In other words, I gave you what you need for now. Oh, that set me free just now when I said it. Because I keep thinking about what I'm going to need for later. I keep thinking, I think it's going to take us, I don't know the official stat, $110 billion to retire by the year 2030 with the way inflation is going to go up. I think that's going to be the target retirement. But you're not retired yet. You're not retired yet. So now you're working on something out here, or you're resenting something back there. And the Lord said, I want to take you from what if to what is. So when I was I'm not going to say the name of the person, but I was at their house and they had just lost, as there was a son who had just lost his father, a wife who had just lost her husband. And I wanted to give them some counsel to say how to get through this. And all that I could think to tell them is, the only responsibility that you have right now is to take the next breath. That's it. That's it. You don't have to make peace with what you lost. You don't have to feel okay about it. Just keep breathing. I left that day. I felt so inadequate. I said, God, they needed a word from you, and all I could tell them was keep breathing. How I failed them, God. How I wish I could have told them something. How I wish I had an experience I could have drawn from that would have been more helpful. And I saw them again 2 years later. And they said, remember when you told us just keep breathing? That got us through. I said, it did? They said, yeah, because it just kept bringing us back to, we're still here. We're still here. When my dad was diagnosed with ALS, I thought he was going to kill himself. He got very angry with us. His medications were out of whack. He was out of his mind. And I called a professional Christian counselor, and I said, I think he's going to kill himself, and I don't think I can stop him. I'm scared to death he's going to kill himself, and I'm not there, so I can't do anything about it. And he asked me a question. It sounded callous. He said, what if he did? I said I couldn't take it. To know that I couldn't stop him, I couldn't take it. And he started to tell me that even if the worst thing happened, God would be with me in that too. I'm gonna do everything I can to stop it. I'm gonna do everything I can to change it. But see, even if it happens, I am is still